Hello and welcome to the Pop Council Podcast, the show where we cover everything in pop culture. Each week on the show, we discuss topics in the geek world, as well as various fandoms such as Disney, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, theme parks, and everything in between. I'm Jami Philbrick, editor-in-chief of MoviePhone and a member of the Hollywood Critics Association. We've got a great show for you today. We are going to be discussing the new Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 trailer for She-Hulk Attorney at Law, the announcement that Daredevil is in development as a series at Disney+. Ryan Gosling is the Fall Guy, Margot Robbie's Oceans movie, and much, much more. But it wouldn't be Pop Council Podcast if I wasn't joined by my lovely co-host, Wendy Lee. Hi, Wendy.
Hello, Jami. Happy Monday. I am slightly stressed out. We got a lot of trailers coming today. We got, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but the Mission Impossible trailer. And apparently the Thor and Love and Thunder official trailer is dropping today as well, later tonight.
That's the rumor.
I think the Stranger Things final one also dropped, and I literally have not gotten my eyes on it.
And Elvis, and I haven't seen that yet either.
Yes, it's a trailer day.
Trailer morning, absolutely. And then, of course, I know you and I are both heading to Anaheim in the middle of this week for the big Star Wars celebration. Are you excited?
It's my first one. I can't wait. I think it's gonna be a good time, but I am also a little bit, as I do it before any convention, get a little nervous about, is my plan going to work as far as coverage goes, because it's all video, not written. So it's like I have to sit there and take the time to edit, and then you hope that the Wi-Fi is good enough to upload. But otherwise, I am very excited.
Yeah, this is actually going to be my third Star Wars celebration.
Whoa.
Now, was 2015 the first one? Like, I guess my question is, did they do Star Wars celebrations before Disney owned Star Wars?
They did a thing in Orlando, Florida years ago before Disney
Not the
had
2017 one.
No. This was this is like when Clone Wars came out.
Right, okay.
So that was like what, 2010 or something crazy like that.
Okay, so Star Wars Celebration was a thing before Disney.
Well, it wasn't called Star Wars Celebration, and it was only on the East Coast in Orlando. And again, Disney hadn't acquired, Lucasfilm or Star Wars at the time, and it was called Star Wars Weekend, and they did it at the formerly, I think they called it MGM Studios, and now it's the Hollywood Studios.
Right.
So they had it there. I never went, but that went away, and then I think
when
later,
Disney bought
Star Wars
it,
Celebration was born.
and then they sort of co-opted that idea and then made it what we know
I
now.
think so. I think that's kind of how it evolved.
Okay. Yeah, so I went to the first one in Anaheim in 2015.
Wow.
And that was right before in fact, that was the premiere of the first trailer for Force Awakens.
Oh.
Yeah, Force Awakens, and Hamill and Harrison and Carrie Fisher were all there.
Wow.
And then I went to the one in 2017 before Last Jedi in Orlando.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And actually, I believe Palpatine showed up, and that was the first inkling that he would return. Because that was way before. So, but I do remember him being there, and Hayden was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like a welcome back kind of thing. So it's sort of like, you know what I mean? Like it was almost like they were sort of working the idea of bringing them back years before they ever officially announced the comeback, right?
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't know Palpatine was coming back until the last movie, until Skywalker. Right. So it was interesting. Yeah, they kind of brought them both back early to, I guess, get the fans' approval. And they both got huge welcomes there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So,
and also there are a lot of fans of the prequels who, love seeing Hayden Christensen. So I'm sure that was also a huge treat for them to
well,
be
there's
there
a whole
to see
generation. Yeah, and there's a whole generation that grew up on those movies in a way that we didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, the way we grew up on the originals. So yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm excited. It should be fun. I'm like you. I get nervous before any con. I mean, I love going to cons, but I'm like, all the people.
Do you have any like tips, tricks for first time attendees?
Oh man. I mean, water.
Okay.
Have
Do they have
water.
fountains there I can refill, or do I have to keep buying?
I
I think
believe they
so.
do have fountains at. I mean, obviously, it's been over 2 years since the last time I was there, but
Yeah.
I I do, unless they took the fountains in the Anaheim Convention Center out, I think that there are there. They are there. And I would
Okay.
also just say, like, I mean, obviously, you're gonna be running around doing whatever you're doing, but like, I mean, this just is gonna make me sound like an old man, but get as much sleep as you can. Like, just you get a
Oh
lot, you
boy.
know what I mean? Like, go to bed early
Yeah.
if you can. If you're getting up early to do stuff, like, just get as much sleep as you can because you're gonna get. I call it the Comic Con headache. You just get
Oh
after like
yeah.
2 days because you've just been up the whole time, and running around and doing stuff. So
Yeah, just no
yeah,
sleep.
so just yeah, either be good at no sleep or try to get some if you can, and yeah, stay
I can be
hydrated.
pretty good at no sleep, which is not great, but staying hydrated is a I think my number one priority, and that and like just go ham on the vitamins. I will have all of them with me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, as long as you have all your vitamins, you should be fine.
Should be okay. Just pop them. I don't even need meals. Just
Yeah, right, right,
no.
right.
I'm actually
Well,
looking
and
forward to
meals are
the food
important too.
truck.
Yeah, try.
I'm ready
Yeah,
for the
food
food trucks.
trucks. Oh, those lines are ridiculous, though.
Oh,
Like the
really?
food truck line. Yeah, I mean, I mean, at past events I've been to, whether it was D23 or
Mhm.
WonderCon or whatever, yeah, those trucks those lines can be longer than the lines to the panels themselves.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I have things that I will be bringing with me just in case if you got like back-to-back things to do since you're covering uh that I can pop like a couple granola bars and snacks and, dry
Yeah,
fruit and
that's a
stuff.
good idea.
Yeah, so I'll have
That's
those. I'll have my liquid IV. But I love food trucks. It's one of the things that I always feel like I have to do at a con. So, I'm ready for those french
Yeah, get
fries.
get in there early. I know, I love a good food truck. Well, Wendy, we've got a few things we can talk about today. So let's just jump into it. As you mentioned, we had a bunch of trailers drop this morning, and we got our first look at what will be the seventh Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which obviously alludes that there will be a part 2 coming down the line. We see Tom here along with Rebecca Ferguson, Simon Pegg, and Bing Rams. The cast also includes Haley Atwell, Vanessa Kirby returning, and Eli Morales is one of the villains. Henry Ziri, I don't think I'm saying his last name right, but he played sort of the, Chetwick was his name, I think, something like that.
I
But
think
he's the
so.
villain, yeah, from the first Mission Impossible, or not the villain, but
Uh-huh.
he was the sort of the adversary in Mission Impossible, in the Impossible task force group, who's given Ethan Hunt some trouble. And so that's kind of exciting that he's returning as well, sort of bridging 7 and 8 back to 1. What did you think of this teaser?
I love Mission Impossible. It's like one of my favorite franchises that doesn't it's we on the show we talk about a lot of the comic book TV shows and Star Wars and things like that. And obviously those are franchises in their own, but Mission Impossible is just I feel like I grew up with it. I was living in Florida when I saw the first one and then it just kept on getting better and better and better and better. I think Rogue Nation is still kind of like my top fave. But this one looks insane. And it's just a teaser trailer. And I do want to talk about this for a second about I think Paramount maybe didn't want to release this quite yet, but you heard that, I'm sure, on Twitter is how I found out, is that apparently it had been leaked by I don't know what, like I think somewhere international not here in the US. And it was apparently had leaked for 3 days and nobody noticed until on the 3rd day, and then everybody was talking about it. I never saw it by the time I found out about it. Any trace of a trailer in any way, shape, or form had been probably deleted from the internet. And also, that's not the way I like to view things. I want to see it in the quality that it's meant to be seen and officially released, by the studio. But the movie is more than a year away, and I know that it's been pushed back a bit due to COVID and other production issues. But like, I'm happy that we got it, and I'm also a little annoyed that we got it because it leaked. So they're like, let's just put it out so people don't seek out the bad quality ones. And it just makes me mad to think about that I'm not going to get this for a year and 2 months.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I mean, obviously if it was already somehow leaking from CinemaCon, we've seen this before with other movies. Like, best thing to do is just get it out there and get it get your version seen in front of people. So yeah, I wish they could have waited until whatever the right time was, but it does also make some sense. Top Gun Maverick's opening this weekend. There's a bit of Tom Cruise fever going on.
Yes.
So I know it's disappointing that it's a year away, but I could see why they felt they had to drop it now.
Yeah. I mean, the trailer looked great, and it's just a teaser. I just feel like with every single one, they just up the ante on the action and the crazy stunts. Like Tom Cruise literally takes his motorcycle and like drives it off the cliff, and then he just goes into a free fall. I expect him to kind of.
He has a parachute on, but yeah,
he's got one of those wings. Those base jumpers.
Yep.
I bet you he's got one of those, and I bet you he's doing it himself because he's just that kind of that's the commitment that he could. Tom Cruise doesn't do 100%. He does 200. You want him hanging out of a plane, no CGI, no blue screen, no problem. He'll actually do it.
And that's why Maverick is so great, because you actually see him in the plane and see the expressions on his face when he's, moving at 8 Gs or whatever it is. I don't know what the technical term is, but yeah, he's pretty incredible. And the fact that he's still doing that stuff. So yeah, it's a shame that we have to wait a year and then another year for the conclusion of the movie that we don't even get to start watching for a year. But they probably needed to get the ball rolling. Like you said, there've been a lot of delays, and so you don't want a bad version of the trailer running around. So we might as well get a good quality one out. So I'm just glad to see it, and I think it's good timing with the Tom Cruise fever we're all feeling with Top Gun coming out. So
absolutely. People are going to search Tom Cruise, and then so they not only get Mission Impossible stuff, they also, they get Top Gun stuff, and they also get Mission Impossible stuff.
Yep, exactly. And we may even get a second trailer by the time Avatar comes out in December. I would imagine a lot of studios will there'll be a lot of eyeballs on that movie. So that's probably the big Christmas film that a lot of studios might attach their trailer to. So. Well, also on the trailer news, we got a trailer last week for She-Hulk Attorney at Law. And so we had just been calling the series She-Hulk. So nice to know that the official title is now Attorney at Law. And we got to see a little bit more of this scene. We had seen this photo before of Smart Hulk helping Jennifer to sort of come into her powers. And the trailer was really fun. I thought it did a really good job of kind of using the sort of comedic, like almost Ally McBeal type vibe that some of the versions of the comics had in the past. I know there was one version where she was actually self-aware, like Deadpool, aware that she was a character in a comic book. I don't think they're quite doing that with this, but it does look like they're having some of that comedic element, which I think will be nice. And also we got a couple shots of Tim Roth, which was nice. So we know that this will somehow tie into sort of what we saw him doing in Shang-Chi. I think, if the rumor is correct, Benedict Wong will also be appearing in the series as Wong. So I would imagine we'll get a little bit more information about what they were up to in Shang-Chi. So I'm excited for this series. My only concern is that it looked a little heavy on the sort of sexualization of especially of She-Hulk and of that character. And that just seems a little off brand for Disney Plus. Although we have seen Disney Plus pushing the envelope. Obviously, Moon Knight was, you know, much darker and horror. You know, we know we're getting some horror in the future with Werewolf by Night. So, you know, it's not. I'm sure they know what they're doing. It just seemed for a Disney Plus show. I was like, wow, oh, okay, we're going there. What did you think about that, Wendy? Did you think? What did you think about the trailer and sort of? Were you surprised at how much Disney for a Disney Plus series it was sort of headed in that direction?
I think the thing that stood out to me first was the comedic vibe. I love that they're going the route with it because we hadn't. I think one of the other shows that maybe come across as a slightly more lighthearted and comedic is maybe Hawkeye.
Right.
But I think this one they're really going to lean into it and mix it with a bit of a procedural, which I think will be fun. As far as you know, the vibe of what you were talking about, apparently that's how she at times would be portrayed in the comics as well. So maybe they're you know, wanting to stay true to source material and to kind of take the vibe of it. And so we will see. I mean, I don't know. I kind of love the whole thing. At the end, she was like, "Let's get the fries to go." I was like, "Let's get the fries to go." Okay, girl. I don't know. I laughed through the whole trailer. One of the things that stood out to me while I was watching it, and this is more on the technical side of things, was, and it was only one particular shot of her. The CGI felt
Yes.
maybe. I mean, they've got plenty of time to work on it. The
No,
series doesn't even come out until
I'm glad
August.
you brought that up. I had that comment as well. There was a
Yeah.
couple of shots that, yeah, it didn't seem, but we've seen, you know, Smart Hulk in that, you know, in deleted scenes kind of being not quite all there too. So yeah, they've got some time to fix that.
They got plenty of time to finish it. They just wanted to give us the trailer, and it was just like a little tiny thing. I went back and watched the scene again, and I think it may have been the hair for me. It wasn't really
Mm,
so much her face or the color.
mm.
I think it was because her hair it didn't look like it was moving naturally. Like the movement seemed.
I know what you're saying. For me, it was more of the green. It felt too cartoony in that one kind
Okay.
of shot.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. We'll see what the end result, you know, is going to look like. I'm sure it's going to be great. I
Yep.
am so excited for Tatiana Maslany to be Jennifer Walters. Like, I love her. For anybody who may not be familiar with her work, the only project you probably have to study up on if you want to is Orphan Black. She plays multiple
Right.
characters in it. So it's going to be fun to watch her as Jennifer Walters going through all this, being a lawyer and being She-Hulk. I think it's going to be fun. I hope she does break the fourth wall. I know she's known to do that in the comics. I'd like to have her do it. We don't see it too often other than, Deadpool, really. I think we saw tiny bits and pieces of it in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I think this one would be a good one for them to do that for. Yeah.
Well, to that
to do the fourth
point,
wall break.
yeah, to that point, it actually has never been done in the MCU, right? It's only been done so far in Deadpool.
WandaVision
Oh,
in one episode, the
well, but
Modern
she was
Family-esque
breaking,
episode.
right? But she was breaking the TV element within her spell.
It
wasn't.
was contained in the whatever
Yeah,
sitcom they were trying
yeah,
to emulate. It wasn't
yeah,
the whole
right,
series.
right. So I wouldn't count that necessarily because
Okay.
it applied to what? Because I think that was if you're talking about like the Modern Family
Yeah.
episode, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that is within the confines of Modern Family. Do you know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
so since that was
Yes.
Wanda's spell, then that works within the confines of that, but not
Yes.
like not that
Uh-huh.
Wanda herself thinks that the MCU is a movie, right?
Right. It was just
Right.
that one
That's
episode.
only
Maybe the
yeah,
one
yeah. So
episode
that's
after as well.
right. So that's only been done in Deadpool where the character actually knows that they're not real.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting to see, you know, hopefully that Deadpool 3 comes to Marvel, to Disney eventually, and we'll see how they deal with that. And then also, yeah, it would be great if they did it in this show too. And yeah, I think it certainly fits the source material. I guess I was just more surprised that a Disney Plus, which won't even show Logan, is
Still?
still, yeah, they'll show Wolverine because that was PG-13, but Logan was an R movie. They can't run R movies on Disney Plus. So Logan is on Hulu.
Oh. What
Right.
about Deadpool?
Well, I think also that's somewhat still tied up in some weird Fox thing because oddly Freevee has the Deadpool movies. So that's still caught up in some like Fox licensing deal for those films. But they,
Interesting.
even when Disney has the rights, they can't run them on, they don't run anything R-rated on Disney Plus. It's
Not
only
yet.
PG-13. Well, that's a good,
I
but that's
see.
part of why they have Hulu, because Hulu is where all the Fox stuff that's R-rated, like you can get Die Hards and Aliens and Predator there. That stuff's
Mhm.
never going to be on Disney Plus. Although
Right.
some of the later Die Hards were PG-13. I think that one with Justin Long was PG-13.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, right, because they were trying to, bring Die Hard a little bit more to the mainstream. So
Mhm.
yeah, I just thought it was super interesting for Disney Plus. I mean, I hope that they're, as a consumer of Disney Plus who does not have children and is not a child himself,
Uh-huh.
I would love to have more stuff on there that's adult.
Yes.
How they kind of work that out, with the different, I know there's certain parameters if you're a parent that you can put on. R-rated movies are in Disney Plus outside the US. Yep. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
very interesting
So
because Hulu is not available in the
Hulu is not
UK.
available in the UK. Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's
So yeah,
interesting.
so I did think it was a push for them with the show, but I mean we've already
Yeah.
seen them kind of push in directions with Moon Knight. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Well, we'll stay on the Disney Plus Marvel tip for a second and say that Daredevil was not officially announced this week, but it was it was announced last week that they are in development on a Daredevil series for Disney Plus. I don't think this is a huge surprise. Um, the popular thinking is, of course, that Charlie Cox will return as Daredevil, obviously, after we saw him in No Way Home.
Mhm.
But again, that has not been confirmed either. So, Wendy, let me ask you this. Let's assume that this new Daredevil Disney Plus series will be with Charlie Cox as Daredevil. If that's the case, do you think they start new with the character? I mean, not necessarily go through the origin and all of that, or is it a continuation of the Netflix stuff, or do you think it'll be a little bit more loose and fast where they're sort of starting their own series? Maybe we'll take some of the threads from the show. Obviously, Kingpin, we would assume Vincent D'Onofrio would be back if they needed him, and Echo, we have that character around. And I know that Disney is dying to get in the John Bernthal business and bring him back as Punisher. But as far as Foggy, some of those other characters, maybe even Elektra, do you think we'll see them recast or bring those characters back from the Netflix series?
I think it would be for me as a fan, I think it'd be make the most sense for them to continue where the Netflix shows left off. It does not because that show has such a big fan base. That whole, Marvel Netflix universe, I guess we can call it that, when it comes to Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, The Punisher, and Iron Fist, the cast is established, especially for Daredevil, which was the first show to air on Netflix when they were doing, that whole thing. And we've all gotten attached to various characters played by certain actors and actresses. So I personally would not want to see them recast or introduce a whole other storyline and just let the other ones kind of go because it's been established. So I want to see them pick up from where they left off. I would love to see. Obviously, we know Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, he's back. So definitely looking forward to having him in the series. But I would also love to see Michael Coulter and Jessica. I was going to call her Jessica Jones, Kristen Ritter back in their respective roles. And I know they took a picture together, the two of them, and on Instagram, and they said Big T's coming or something like that, kind of alluding to maybe there's a cameo of the two characters in Daredevil, the show, or their own shows will also get a revival and headed to Disney Plus as well. So I think the fans are going to be upset if they decide to recast and kind of like, oh, that story's done and we're going to go a different route, because it was so established and those are kind of intricate. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different view. I would like to see them. I don't think they need to. I don't think it needs to be like the Netflix series season 4. I think they should do their. I think they should take the Daredevil character in whatever direction that Marvel wants to take that character in with Charlie Cox, and they don't have. It doesn't have to be a straight up continuation of the last 3 seasons of the Netflix series. But if there are characters that they want to bring back, threads that they want to bring back, they can kind of pick and choose what they want to do. That's what I would like to sort of see, where they kind of have an open, sort of like the way they brought the Kingpin into Hawkeye, right? So they can kind of do the character, they're not holden to anything that came before, but can also take inspiration from what came before. And as far as some of those other actors, I love Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. Those are 2 of my favorite Marvel characters. I think they're very important Marvel characters. And to sort of write them off because they were done on Netflix first, I would hate that. So I really hope they bring those characters in. Now, I don't necessarily think that Kristen Ritter and Mike Coulter are as big names as actors as John Bernthal and Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. But that being said, Coulter is working a lot on other TV shows and stuff like that. Like if they were bringing them back for, let's say supporting roles in a movie or to lead the TV series, I could see that. But if they were going to make a Luke Cage movie, they may want to get, a bigger box office actor. So it just depends on what they want to use the characters for.
I'm gonna go crying to my pillow if they make that decision. I'm gonna go crying to my pillow. I love him so much as Luke Cage.
But I mean, well, let's look at some of the other options. I mean, would you hate a Luke Cage movie starring Idris Elba? I don't think you would.
No, I wouldn't. I
don't think you'd hate one starring,
I think Idris is a little bit.
He's a little old, but
yeah.
You get what I'm saying. A box office,
yeah,
actor. But I can tell you one thing for sure: Iron Fist is never coming into the MCU. That will never happen.
Just keep calling Wong.
Well, now
she's the one.
That could happen.
I watched a show for her.
That I see actually happening. I could see that happening, especially because she's, becoming kind of a big star in her own right as well. I could definitely see that happening, but that's why we have Shang-Chi. So they're not bringing Iron Fist into the MCU. It's just not going to happen. Not after what happened with the series, for sure.
No, not my favorite.
Yeah, no, me neither. So, while we're talking about Daredevil, we also got a shot this week, a little shot of Echo from the Echo series. So, there's not a lot to go on from this photo, other that she's back on the streets, back in the hunt for somebody, for something. So I don't know. Does this photo get you kind of excited for that series, which is currently in production?
I'm excited for. I don't think the photo was kind of like, whoa, look at what she's doing, because it is just a shot of her seemingly contemplating her next move or trying to hide potentially. But I'm excited for her. I'm excited for her character. I really liked how they introduced her in Hawkeye. I am ready to see more of her. I think the character is fascinating, and I like the actress a lot. I'm very curious to find out exactly what happens after we, heard the gunshot at the end of Hawkeye. After all, because she went through a lot. She went through a lot in that final episode. So excited to see where it goes, and we know that there's connections between her and Daredevil. So could we see a Charlie Cox cameo in the show, or or vice versa? It's possible,
Well,
because if they
I
bring Daredevil into Disney Plus, then it's all under the same umbrella.
I can't believe it's a coincidence that the same week the first photo from Echo was released, that also the news dropped that they're working on a Daredevil series. Like, that can't be a coincidence. So I think you're onto something there for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And we also don't know who's going to be involved in the show really outside of her. I think I did hear that her father character is going to be brought back. So that's
Oh,
presumably in flashbacks, one
I
would
love
assume.
him. Love him.
And there's been no talk of Vincent D'Onofrio, but one would assume that he has to be involved as well. And we could even get a Charlie Cox cameo in Echo. That might be why they dropped the news before, someone with an iPhone sees Charlie Cox walking around on the set. Could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Could
trying to get
be.
ahead of it. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Which would actually be really smart, because if they know he's going to be on set soon,
Yeah.
that's going to get discovered. So,
Yeah. Yeah, those
so
photographers can be miles away. They get those photos with their super long lenses.
are they shooting in Atlanta? I was going to say, our fans in Atlanta, if you have a Charlie Cox sighting, let us know. But I don't know where they're filming Echo, to be honest.
I'm not sure either. It could be LA, could be Atlanta, could be New York.
It could be, yeah, exactly. They could be anywhere. Well, just a couple other pieces of sort of interesting news. So there is a TV show, Wendy, from the 1980s called The Fall Guy. Now, this was one of my favorite shows when I was growing up. It was an hour-long sort of, detective, Magnum PI, A-Team-esque, of that era TV show. Lee Majors, who is also known as the $6 Million Man, although it would be like the $6 billion Man if they redid that today.
Inflation.
And that's Heather Thomas in the background, who was also on The Fall Guy. So The Fall Guy was a series where Lee Majors played Colt Seavers. Tell me that's not the best name in the history of television. Colt Seavers. And he was a Hollywood stuntman by day and a bounty hunter by night. So most of the episodes dealt with his bounty hunter business. It would usually start with him on the set of a film falling off something, and then he has to go chase some guy who skipped bail. It has the greatest theme song in the history, one of the great theme songs in the history of television. There's a lot. It's Lee Majors actually singing the theme song himself, and it explains it's one of those great theme songs that explains the series, like Gilligan's Island, right? And so there's one line, and it's like, I may fall from a tall building, I made Tarzan from a vine, but I'm the unknown stuntman that made Eastwood look so fine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the whole song, like, he talks about, like, I've been seen with Farrah, I've been driving with Sally Field. I mean, it's clearly nods to Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood and all those kind of stuntman actors of that era. So the reason I bring this up, our audience is saying, why are you telling me about a TV show from the 80s? Because we have a new Fall Guy, Ryan Gosling, one of my favorite actors of today. I couldn't think of a better guy to cast. This is actually a shot from The Gray Man, his upcoming film the Russo brothers directed with Chris Evans. But I thought it sort of was fitting because it looks like he's doing some stunt work here.
Yes.
About to jump off of a moving train with a gun. But he will play. So this is actually interesting. We don't know it necessarily. Oops, sorry about that. If he will play Colt Seavers. We know that David Litch from John Wick and Deadpool 2 and Atomic Blonde had been working on, and he himself is a former stuntman, was working on a stuntman movie with Ryan Gosling attached. And then it was announced that that movie was in fact The Fall Guy. Now, whether this will be a faithful adaptation of the TV series, or if they're just kind of taking the title and doing something different with it, that I'm not quite sure. I kind of feel like it's going to be the latter, sort of like what they did with The Equalizer with Denzel, where they kind of took like the kernel of that idea, but then really made it a Denzel action movie. I could see this being sort of the kernel of that idea, and then becoming like its own sort of Ryan Gosling action movie. I mean, either way, it sounds awesome to me, and I'm looking forward to it. I would not expect the theme song. I don't expect Ryan to be singing the theme song.
You don't? I do. He did
No,
La
although
La
that would
Land.
be awesome. That would be awesome. No, again, like I'm not even expecting them to cast like, someone to play the Heather Thomas role, or they could completely do something. I think he probably will be Colt Seavers. I don't think they'll make up a new name necessarily, but he could be a different character and just sort of in the same, where he's a bounty hunter and a fall guy, and they just use that. Or, I'm hoping that it does connect a little bit to the show. In some forms, isn't completely sort of, original, but it's definitely an interesting concept. What are you familiar with the TV show, and what are your thoughts on Gosling doing this?
Oh, it's interesting that you ask. I did not know of the TV show at all until the news of it broke. And my association when I heard the Fall Guy, I immediately stupidly thought it was the video game, but it's just called Fall Guy, not the Fall Guy. And I'm like,
Right.
because it makes sense for them to do like, live action movie adaptations to a video game. And I was like, well, that's an interesting concept. So when I started reading on it, I was like, I am so far off base here. The concept is very interesting. I think Ryan Gosling is the perfect guy to star. If they end up, end credits song remake, whatever you call it, for the TV show theme song, just to kind of pay tribute to the TV show. I think Ryan Gosling, who obviously is a talented singer, he was in the Mickey Mouse Club, he was in La La Land, and can sing. I think be the perfect person to redo the theme song. I am very intrigued. I can't believe that I never knew about the TV show until the
Oh, the
news of
TV
this movie.
shows. Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, because my dad showed me a bunch of, like, 80s movies when I was
It's
growing
of
up,
its
and this
era.
one.
I mean, it wasn't as popular as like, Magnum PI or the A-Team, but it's definitely
Right.
like of that era.
Uh-huh.
And it was fairly popular. I want to say it was probably only lasted 4 or 5 seasons. Not like it had like a huge run.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
it was definitely, yeah, it sort of like hit that zeitgeist at the time. Yeah, and it's also interesting that this will be the third time Ryan Gosling's played a stuntman in a film. I'm blanking on what this. Obviously, the first one was Drive. I'm blanking on
Right.
what the second one was. It was something I think more recent, but
Huh.
yeah, it'll be a third time he's playing a stuntman. So
That's so
yeah,
funny.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I look, I just really love that director. I love Ryan. I love the concept. Like, I just think there
Oh,
could
the
be something
nice guy, was it?
fun. Oh, nice. Well, no,
The nice guy.
nice guy,
Well,
because he's a private detective, isn't he?
it was either that or we know it's not Blade Runner. Potentially. And I don't think he played a stunt person in Crazy Stupid Love.
No, no, no. I mean, I
Ides of
don't think
March, maybe?
Nice Guys. No, it wasn't Ides of March, because he's like a political guy in that.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I know I
Interesting. But
read
no,
somewhere
there
that
have
this
been.
was the
No, you're
third time.
right.
I can't remember the second.
Interesting.
So
He's
yeah,
found his niche.
he's found his niche. Exactly. I mean, listen, Drive's my favorite, one of my favorite movies of all time.
So good.
Oh my God, one of the greatest movies ever made. So, the opportunity to see him do that again,
Yeah.
count me in. Well, lastly, we'll just finish up on this. A little bit more interesting news. Margot Robbie was announced last week that she will reteam with Jay Roach, who directed Bombshells, the Fox News movie that she was in 2019, which I believe she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. They are teaming to do another Oceans franchise movie. It's just being called Margot Robbie's Oceans right now. So we don't know how many will be in her team, because as we know, Oceans 8 means Sandra Bullock has 8 friends, and Oceans 11 means George Clooney has 11 friends, and 12 and 13. So we don't know how many she'll have. What I'm hearing is that the film will be set in the 1960s in London, which is an interesting backdrop. It kind of reminds me of Cruella, sort of what they tried to do. I guess that was more 70s with the punk era, but kind of gave me a little bit of a feeling of that. So 60s, yeah, Beatles era, like the British invasion, that could be ripe for a heist caper. I can't wait to see who she teams up with. My feeling is, and I'd love to hear your feeling on it overall, Wendy, and this specific point is that I think Ocean's 8 did fairly well, but I don't
Uh-huh.
think it did, what they wanted it to. But
Right.
did well enough that it wasn't an embarrassment by any means. But clearly not enough to do Ocean's 9, right? To do another
Mhm,
one
mhm,
with
mhm.
Sandra and that team. So they're starting fresh with Margot. That's great. It makes me think that this won't be another full female team, that they maybe mix it up, right? So it's not going to be the full boys teams from the original Oceans. It's not going to be the full female team from Ocean's 8, but that it'll be Margot will be the lead, but the team that she assembles will be male and female.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my guess. Yeah, you agree with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a smart way to go too.
Yeah, I
We'll
mean, this is supposed to be like a prequel.
No, I
So
don't know. That's an interesting prequel is an interesting term. I
okay.
knew it was just said that it will be set in the 1960s. I
Mm.
don't know that it's a prequel per se. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe I
You
shouldn't use the word
I mean, I guess
prequel.
Ocean's 8 is connected because you discover she's his brother or his sister.
There's the actual
But
connections there, but
yeah,
this
yeah,
one,
and they do
the
have some
gap
people show
between
up. Yeah,
yeah,
because like I don't know, like right. I mean, do you have a guy show up and he's a young Carl Reiner?
I think
Like,
that's too well,
how do you connect? Or a young Elliot Gould? I mean, those were none of the other cast members were probably over 10 by the time.
yeah,
You know
they
what I
they
mean? Like
too
Clooney was
young.
born in the 60s, wasn't he?
Yeah,
And
they're too young.
Damon's not born until 70s.
Yeah.
So yeah, unless it was like Carl Reiner or Elliot Gould, I don't know quite how you connect.
Mhm.
Yeah, or if you find out Margot is their mom, I guess you could that's
That'd
another
be
connection.
interesting, huh?
Margot could be the Ocean's mother.
Oh my gosh. Staying in
It's interesting that you
the
mentioned that. I
family
mean,
business.
since all of the other ones are connected in some way,
Uh-huh.
you're absolutely right. There's no reason I just was assuming this was going to be completely separate from the others, but there's no reason to believe that.
But I
Like,
think
it
you're also
absolutely
right
could be a prequel.
because the timing, it is in the 1960s. So like
Right.
any of the actual Ocean's 11 cast, like they're not born then. They haven't even been
Unless
conceived.
Carl Reiner and Elliot Gould would be the only of the original 11 that would be age appropriate to even be around in the 60s. And then the other way you could do it is Margot's their mom. I mean, that's the only other way.
I mean, that'd be interesting to see. That'd be very interesting to see if they do try to connect it or
You
they
know,
just let it be.
and if she does her brunette thing, if she doesn't go blonde, I could actually, because the blonde was
Can you
throwing me
see
off
it?
because of Clooney and Sandra aren't blondes.
Right.
They're both dark-haired people. But
Yeah.
I've seen Margot with dark hair,
Yeah.
and I can't remember what, but I know I've seen her in something with dark hair. They could easily do that, and I think it could still work.
Yeah.
I mean, I would believe those two incredibly handsome people came out of this incredibly handsome woman, like that's believable,
Yes.
regardless of hair color. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just like the sort of that vibe of England in the mid 60s, the British invasion kind of thing. Um, similar to what they did with the punk era in Cruella. Like I like
Yeah.
that as being. Have you watched? And I have to be honest, I haven't watched it yet, but it's available on HBO Max now. I keep telling myself to watch it. Is Pennyworth?
I
That's
have
the
not.
Alfred show. I haven't watched it, so I can't say if it's any good or not. But the vibe is, sort of doing Batman in England in the '60s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like it's almost like the Adam West show. Not quite that campy, but they do some wild from some of the villains I've seen clips of on that. They do some wild kind of stuff with the '60s and with that era. So yeah, I think it could be really interesting.
Yeah.
So
And I
yeah,
think Margot Robbie, her vibe, just her like overall aesthetic kind of fits into that time period that they're going to set this movie into. So
right.
I'm really excited to see her take on whatever story they decide to tell us. And I think she's one of these actresses that's so flexible in the way she can
Yes.
portray characters. We've seen her in Wolves of Wall Street, to Tarzan, to Harley Quinn. She's gonna be Barbie in the upcoming Barbie movie, so she can do it all. She can do it
No,
all.
no, forget about it. Margot Robbie's incredible, and when you think about like her trajectory, I mean,
She's
you
so
know,
young too.
well, yeah, and kind of like I really thought it was interesting the way they sort of positioned her with Once Upon a Time, where like the advertising was like, DiCaprio and Pitt and Robbie together, and it's like, wait, have we been waiting? I mean, the Pitt and DiCaprio part, yeah, we've been waiting a while for that, but and sort of like marketed her as big a star as them. And when you think about like she just came up with, I mean, no one knew her before Wall Street. And that
Yeah.
was 2014, Wolf of
Mm.
Wall Street. And so the trajectory of Wolf of Wall Street to now where she is one of the most bankable female actresses in Hollywood, I mean, that's quite incredible. That's almost like Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock, 1990s sort
Huge.
of rise. Yeah, in a
Huge.
small amount of time, and not every movie she did was a huge hit, but every movie was pretty good. I mean, Tarzan wasn't a box office smash, but that's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
It's a
She also
good
did Focus with Will Smith.
Focus is a great movie, and you can say what you will about the first Suicide Squad, but it made $750 million and won an Oscar.
Yeah.
It won an Oscar.
It won an Oscar. And the second one.
And the second one was really good. So,
Okay.
and Birds of Prey is great. Yeah, I mean, her trajectory has been really, really amazing. So,
She's very fun to watch.
yeah, yep, she's a good actress. So, well, that's about all we have for today. We want to thank you all for tuning in and watching the show, and just remind you that we are just one of the shows on the Hollywood Critics Association's YouTube channel. So you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tune into Pop Council every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. As well, take a look at all of the great after shows that we've been doing on the HCA YouTube channel. If there is a TV show that you've been binging, that you've been watching, chances are we have an after show for you. So just check it out and find the one you like. They're all great. You will enjoy. Wendy, thank you so much for joining us again. Tell everyone where they can check you out this week.
Thanks, Jami. Always a good time talking movies and news with you and geek out over all of our topics. I will be at Star Wars Celebration, later on this week. So if you see me there, say hello. Other than that, you can find me across all socials at my name, Wendy Lee Zaney, and on YouTube under the Movie Couple channel.
Awesome. And I too will be at Star Wars Celebration this week. If you see me or bump into me, don't stop me. Don't say hello. Just let me go on my way. I'll be very busy. I don't have time. I'm just teasing. But I want to thank you all for watching. You can check me out at Instagram and at Twitter at Philbrick. And please check out Movie Phone for your show times, movie reviews, interviews, news, and so much more. Until then, may the force be with you. Have a great Star Wars Celebration if you are in Anaheim. And we actually won't be here next week. It's going to be Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to take Memorial Day off, Wendy and I both, to regroup from Star Wars Celebration. So we will see you in 2 weeks from today. We will be back on Pop Council with all the news that you need. So we'll see you back here in 2 weeks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.